Hello and welcome to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. My name is Issachar Bey, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Thank you for your consistency, and thank you for everything that you guys have done to help elevate, help us to grow and expand. If this is your first time listening in, please let us know what city, what state, or what country you're listening from. And we're asking everybody, if you can, go ahead and hit the like button for us. It helps us to raise the algorithms. And if you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers, so we want to thank all of you for your help. I want to thank all of you for the feedback from last week. A lot of people have been sending me a lot of great feedback about last week's teaching. And it is my intention that somebody every week walks away with a different mindset, with a different motivation, a different inspiration, something that makes you feel uncomfortable to the point, it's so to speak, like a disruptor that disrupts your comfortability, that disrupts your normality, that you're able to make a shift and say, listen, I want to make a change in my life and I want to go to the next level. And so we are forever grateful. I want to thank all of you for your donations and your seeds that you've sown into this organization, into this ministry. And we want to thank all of you. It does help us greatly. I want to go ahead and get into a quiet position because I have a lot to cover today. Get into a quiet position where we can go ahead and block out all the exterior and go within so that we can have a listening ear and a eye that would allow us to see beyond sight, sight beyond sight, and see into spirit and hear in the spirit. The teaching for today. If you get in a quiet position, I want you to take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. Again, take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. Again, take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. I now turn to the one presence, the infinite intelligence that holds all things together in perfect order. Even when it appears that everything is falling apart, I recognize this presence as whole, unbroken, and eternal. It cannot be divided. It cannot be undone. And it is the presence that lives in me now, even in this moment of seeming collapse. Through life around me may look shattered, I declare that the truth of who I am remains untouched. I am not my circumstances. I am not the chaos. I am not the breaking. I am the being that cannot be broken. I affirm now that what looks like falling apart is actually falling into place. I release the illusion of disintegration and claim the revelation of transformation, which appears as loss and making room for something greater. What feels like ending is preparing the ground for a new beginning. I am held in the arms of the divine order, even when I do not see it. I am surrounded by the wisdom of the infinite, even when I do not understand it. I am supported by the law of life, even when I feel weak. I do not collapse. I am being restored. I do not fall. I am being called. I now speak peace to my mind, stability to my heart, and strength to my soul. I remember who I am, a divine idea in the mind of God, sustained by something greater than my problem, pain, or appearance. I am lifted now. I am claimed now. I am renewed now. I release this word into the Lord, knowing that it moves with healing precision, recognizing every detail of my life for good. I rise from the rubble of fear into the solid ground of faith. I rebuild from truth. I begin again in power. And so it is, and so it is. I want to thank all of you today for tuning in to this teaching for this Sunday. Thank you, all of you who have been very consistent and joining us every week. We're in the same place, same time, same place. Definitely, if you can, share it out and let everybody know. We are excited about your future. We are excited about all the things that are coming. We are in our mid-year. We're in the middle of 2025. And right now, as you can see in the bottom, I do have a consultation going on right now. Those of you that want to sit down to figure out what am I going to do for the next 6 months that are remaining in the year 2025, let's sit down and talk about it. Let's map it out. Let's get some things going. Let's look at your future. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And so we have the ability to create the future. We've been doing this series, I call it mind therapy. And I call it mind therapy because I believe that it really helps us to really get our thoughts and our hearts and our minds clear. But then it also shows us how to be able to evolve and grow in life. And I've been getting a lot of feedback from all of you about these particular series that we're doing. And so I'm following Spirit, and Spirit has not told me to stop and move into a different direction. So we're continuing with this. And today, I want to talk about a very interesting topic. I believe that there are a lot of people that can relate to this topic today. I believe there are a lot of people who can, whether you're public or hidden within yourself about this issue, a lot of people can attest. A lot of people can relate to this issue. And we're going to be talking today from the topic, Help Me. My life is falling apart. Help me, help me. Please help me. My life is falling apart. And if that's you listening in today and you feel like, oh my God, my life is falling apart, I want you to listen, because I want you to walk away today knowing that after today, you will be able to put your life back together again. That even when life feels like it's falling apart, there is always a solution to the problem. And I want you to know that you are the solution. Those of you that are listening, put this in the chat. I am the solution. I want to tell a story today about a woman named Charlotte. It began on a heavy Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where the air feels like it's holding its breath, the kind where even the silence sounds exhausted. Charlotte stood in the center of her small kitchen. Her feet were bare, but the floor felt like concrete, cold, unforgiving. A chip mug sat between her and Palm's lukewarm coffee, untouched. Not for drinking, just for holding. Like she needed something to cling to, something to keep her from vanishing altogether. The refrigerator buzzed like it was irritated to still be running. A half-empty bowl of syrup, wilt spinach, a crumbled takeout bag from a week ago. The groceries had stopped matching the needs of the house a while ago. So had the conversations. The blinds were half open. The light tried to spill in, but even it hesitated, filtered by dust and despair. Across Across the wall, envelopes spiraled down like wounded soldiers. Pink, yellow, red, final notices, discrimination scheduled, disconnection scheduled, insufficient funds. There was there was a time when Charlotte paid her bills early, when the kitchen smelled like garlic and fresh thyme, not regret and worry. A time when her husband Donald came home whistling and twirling his keys, not stomping through the door like joy was an inconvenience. But that time felt like it belonged to someone else now. Donald had started stepping, had started sleeping on the edge of the bed. Then he stopped sleeping there altogether. He started getting texts from names that sounded like secrets. Uh, Charlotte wasn't naive, but she wasn't ready. Not ready to face the betrayal, not ready to be alone, not ready to be the only parent, still showing up for bedtime prayers and spelling tests. 15 years of loyalty, coffee runs, overtime, training people who ended up with titles above hers. Then came the meeting with her HR. Restructuring, downsizing. The severance package was short and the goodbye colder than the vending machine. The bills climbed, the fridge empty, the kids noticed. Ma, why are the lights off again? Ma, are we poor? Ma, why don't why don't you sing in the mornings no more? Each question was a wound. Every smile forced became a scar. It was a Tuesday night. Darnell was in the living room, laughing too hard at his phone. Charlotte closed the door, walked into the bedroom, and locked it. She sat on the cold tile floor, her back against the tub, knees pulled to her chest. No words, just breathing and breaking. Tears traced down the edges of her jaw and disappeared into the fabric of her old church shirt. And then she whispered out loud, not desperate, just true, help me. My life is falling apart. And from the stillness, from the deepest crevice of silence, something answered. Not a voice, a vibration, a knowing. And that knowing was like an inward utterance to her that speaked out and said, if you fail to go within, you must learn to live without. The next morning, she rose before the sun. She lit a cinnamon candle, sat cross-legged in the living room. She didn't pray, she didn't beg, she listened. And she wrote at the top of a worn notebook page, today I gather my mind. That became her ritual. Not the kind with incense and crystals. This was a deeper ritual of remembering. She wrote down lies she carried like the gospel. I don't have to stay here for the kids. I'm too old to start over. I'm not good with money. If I leave, I'll be alone. And she remembered replacing them with truth. My peace is my children's inheritance. Every sunrise is a new beginning. Wealth starts as a frequency. Alone is where I meet God. She fasted from drama, from Donnell's mood swings, from the 10 o'clock news. She turned inward. She cleared her bedroom with intentions. Washed the sheets. She felt her mind. She began to feed her mind like it was starving. YouTube lectures, Michael Beckwith, listening to Father Divine and Reverend Ike and Neville Garner, and these are the people that she would begin to listen to. She began watching a video by Michael Beckwith, and in the video she heard him say, "Pain pushes until vision pulls." Charlotte pursued the video. Something inside of her cracked wide open. She whispered back to the screen, "Then God, show me my vision." She got bold. She started charging for resume consultations. She added spiritual coaching to her services. She wrote, "Wealth flows to me now," on posts and stuck them on the bathroom mirrors. She said grace over Roman noodles like they were filet mignon. She made playlists of abundance. She blessed her bank account even when it showed $4.12. She didn't leave Darnell out of anger. She released him with gratitude. She told him, "I love you, but I can't be with someone who forgot how to love me back." He looked confused. She wasn't. Her kids noticed the change. "Ma, you smell like flowers again. Ma, you look like you mean it now." She smiled. She was becoming the woman she used to pray to be. As time goes on, Charlotte makes a declaration saying that I'm abundant, I'm powerful, and I'm whole. Her home now smells like sandalwood and cinnamon. The fridge is full. She sings again. She teaches again. She trusts again. And every now and then when life gets heavy, Charlotte returns to that Tuesday night, the whisper that she got from within while she was in the bathroom. If I fail to go within, I must learn to live without. And so she goes within, and from there, she creates everything. This is the story about Charlotte. Charlotte was going through a lot. She was dealing with uh, losing her job. The the husband was on a different page. The children could tell that everything was being in a disarray in the house. Everything was falling apart. Bills are stacked up. Now, one of the things that I wanted to look at right away is that we talked last week about relationships, and we talked about how you attract the wrong person into your life. What I found very interesting, and I'm just making this point, and we'll get back into the story. What I found very interesting is that when this woman, Charlotte, when she began to raise her level of consciousness and she began to go to a higher level, once she got to that level, she released him. But you have to realize too that he never made the adjustment to come and meet her where she was. And so when she made the statement that I need somebody who can love me back, was an indication that I need somebody who's going to adjust and connect with me as one. And so when Donald never made the adjustment, by her going to a higher level, she just released him in love, released him in abundance, and said, I'm moving on to a different situation. I'm moving on to a high level of consciousness. I can have peace, joy. And so now, when we look at this, we begin to look at this whole thing about my life is falling apart. Bills, relationships, money, health, falling apart. The mental reset, realigning your mind to rebuild your life. Your mind is the master builder. Let me tell you something. Whenever somebody comes to me and tells me, Issachar, my life is falling apart, the first thing I want to grab a hold of you is not anything physical. Yes, I can give you a hug. I can rub your shoulders. But the first thing we need to get is your mind. Your mind is where everything happens. If life is falling apart in your life, you must realize it's an exact replica. It's an exact image or a duplicate or the mirror image of what's going on inside of you. And so, in order to change that, we have to begin to do a mental reset. Your thoughts are blueprints. Beliefs are bricks. Emotions are comments. Life is the house you've built unconsciously. Charlotte started with silence. You must too. You got to be able to realize that it starts in the mind. She began to sit on the floor and she realized my life is falling apart. She made that assumption. It was brought to her awareness. It was a very difficult thing to see that happen to her, because she's in this position where there's a lot going on, and it can be very, very difficult to be in a situation when your life is falling apart and you're trying to hold it together and nobody else can see what you see, and you may be crying out for help and they may not understand what's going on. But could you imagine Charlotte in this predicament where the kids knew something was different, Donald knew something was different, but in all retrospect, everything was just falling apart. Everything, we used to laugh together. We used to make fun together. We used to have all this great time together. Now everybody is separate. He used to sleep in the bedroom. Now he don't sleep in the bedroom anymore. The kids ask me, why don't you sing in the morning like you used to? We can tell that there's a disconnect. We can tell that there's something happening here where this woman has made the declaration, help me. I need help. My life is falling apart. One of the things that I've noticed is that we also have to understand that for every action there's a reaction. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Release before you receive. You cannot hold a new reality in cluttered hands, which means Charlotte had to release and let it go. Listen, when people come to me, and people have come to me plenty of times and said, "Hey, Issachar, man, I need to get a consultation with you, man. My life is falling apart." What happens when life starts falling apart? We get so exhausted by trying to hold it together. We get exhausted, we get overwhelmed, we get frustrated and flustered because we're trying to hold it together. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When life starts to fall apart, let it fall. I know that's tough for you to hear. Let it fall. What does not kill you will always make you stronger. Life falling apart ain't going to kill you. The way up is always down. Some of the most successful, famous people in the world have started from rock bottom. Rock bottom has probably made more millionaires than anything else. Let everything, list everything that's draining your spirit. Create an energetic fast and affirm what fills you. What is pulling you? What is draining your energy? What is draining your time? What is draining your emotions? Whenever this happens and life is falling apart, we're always going to move to the great rewrite. We're going to tap into that because at this moment, you also want to rewrite your story. You want to rewrite your story. The story you tell yourself becomes the story you live. What was amazing about how Charlotte did that, she began to tell herself that, because she began to cross out the lies about money. She wasn't good with money. She began to cross those things out and begin to replace them. She began to rewrite her story. Charlotte rewrote her identity before reality ever shifted. You got to know where you're going. Yes, life is falling apart. Yes, it's difficult. Listen, it's a difficult situation. It can be embarrassing because you're looking at other people that's looking at you, that's noticing that things are not the same. Family members are looking at you kind of weird, like what's going on. All of those things. But in the midst of all of that, you have to be able to realize that, listen, I'm going to get myself together and I'm going to pull life back together again. Because sometimes in life, you don't need to pull things back together again. Sometimes you need to let things go and replace them. That's why if you listen to the spiritual mind treatment that we said earlier today, sometimes when things fall apart, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes they're falling into place. Oh, I wish we had more time to really get into that. She talked about wealth as a frequency. Everything in life is frequency. Money obeys alignment, not effort. Charlotte shifted from budgeting in fear to circulating in flow. When you start operating in alignment, you'll see money begin to obey you. Now, Reverend Ike used to teach us that money has ears. And he said that you have to be careful how you talk about money. But you can speak to money and tell money, you can call money and money will come to you. But see, that's another way on another day. But yes, Charlotte shifted from budgeting in fear to circulating her flow. I circulate money with joy and it returns multiplied. When you look at your relationship with money, the Bible says money answers all things. That's what it says. I believe it's Ecclesiastes 10 and 18. It says money is the answer of all things. What that means is for every question you have, yes, money could change it. Now listen, in Charlotte's situation, money was an issue, but it wasn't the gist of all the issues, because she had the issue of the relationship between her and Donald. She had the relationship of her kids, of trying to maintain. But yes, money was a big issue. When you get you together, you get your money together. You can't try to get the money together if you ain't got you together. Everything revolves around you. That's why I said in the beginning, when life falls apart, it's all about your mind. And you are your mind. There is no separation between you and your mind. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. When you understand the power of the mind, the power of the imagination, you understand that your mind is a magnet, and you magnetize to you the very things that you focus on your mind. In the beginning, we heard about how Charlotte was not naive, but knew something was going on with Donald when he was getting the text messages and texting back and forth to what we consider to be another female, another woman, or somebody of that sort. These are the things that we get into when we talk about frequency. Relationships alignment. Every relationship is a classroom, and Charlotte graduated. You don't need to fix them. You need to heal you. I talked about this last week in relationships. Relationships are always about you. Charlotte didn't need to argue with Darnell. Who are you texting? Why don't you sleep in the bed anymore? Why don't you cuddle with me? Why don't you hold me? Why don't you talk to me? Why don't we have the conversations that we used to have? Why don't we go to the places that we used to do? Why don't you love me and hold me and caress me like you used to? She didn't have to argue with him about that. The only thing Charlotte had to do at this moment was get her together. Because remember, she made the statement, help me. My life, not Donald's life, not her kid's life. She said, my life is falling apart. And if it's her life that's falling apart, then she has to get her together. And when she gets her together, everything else will become in alignment. If there's anybody listening to me right now, and there's things in your life that are out of place and disarray, and things are falling apart, and things are not going the way they need to go, that's because you are not in alignment. When you get you in alignment, you got to get you in alignment first. And when you get you in alignment, everything else that you need to put back in place will fall back into alignment based on you. Your future is a vibration away. Charlotte didn't wait. She walked into it. You are not becoming, you're remembering. I am is an embodiment situation. Being able to walk in your I amness of I am great, I am beautiful, I am successful. Being able to walk into that, being able to look into that, realizing, yes, somebody's sitting here right now, oh God, my finances are messed up. Me and my husband, we haven't talked for 3 days. Me and my wife, we don't even sleep in the same rooms anymore. Everything's just going disarray. My bills, my credit score went down. All of these things. Listen, instead of you trying to pull those things and get those things together, what you need to do is get you together, get you back in alignment. And once you get you back in alignment, then guess what? You can get everything back together again. I can work on getting my credit back up. I can work on fixing this, and I can work on fixing that. But you got to get you together first. And how do you do that? As we said before, the mental reset. And this is your first time listening in. We taught a series last year called Mental Resurrection, awakening the mental alchemist within. Mental resurrection. When you go through a mental reset, your life goes through a reset. If there's anybody listening and you saying, "Oh my God, my life is falling apart. It's just not going the way I want it to go. It seems like every time I move 10 steps forward, I get knocked 19 steps back." All of that. Realignment. In the Great Rewrite, and this is also a course or a teaching that we have here on our channel. You can go back and listen to it. We talk about you being the producer, the author, the director, and the actor of your life. We believe that your life is a movie. We believe, yes, the story we're listening to about Charlotte, right? Charlotte's life is a movie. Her life was in a disarray. Her life was it was discombobulated, right? And so what happens is she got to a point where she realized, I need help. My life is falling apart. I'm trying to hold everything together. I'm trying to maintain the bills and the household and my livelihood and my livelihood and my job and the employment, and everything is just being ripped from me. Everything is just being taken from me. Everything is just falling apart. Charlotte learned how to rewrite with boldness, and you must learn how to do the same thing. You must learn how to rewrite your story. When you hit that mental reset, and sometimes the mental reset is difficult, and it's because of this. When you do a mental reset and you start, yes, I am successful, I am great, I am marvelous, I am abundant, and you start working on your affirmations, you're doing all of that, it's going to be very difficult because what you are proclaiming on a mental aspect is totally different than what's going on in the physical reality. But what you're doing is you are locking in and doing the realignment from within, because once you lock in and realign on a mental level, the shift takes place. And when that shift takes place, believe it or not, all that stuff that was falling apart will begin to come back together again. You got to learn how to map your next chapter using the 4 archetypes that we just talked about, being the producer, the author, the director, and the actor of your own life. And if you want to know more about that, please go listen to The Great Rewrite. But you got to have you got to be able to rewrite your story. I sent out an email the other day telling people about the rewrite, that you need to rewrite your story for the next 6 months. What does the next 6 months in 2025 look like? Because, listen, here at the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, we strive to help people. We strive to help you become the better version of yourself. We don't want you to just exist, going to work, paying bills, coming home, going to work, paying bills just to come home, going to work just to pay bills, just to come home. No, 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 no. We are equipping you with knowledge, wisdom, that you can begin to create your own reality, that you can go and create the life that you wanted to live. that you can go in and begin to start living the life that you want to live, not because of what somebody told you to do, not because of what you have to do, but you live life. I say this all the time: live your life. Don't let life live you. Don't live life in a reactionary tone, which means that whatever life gives me, I'm always reacting to what life gives me. You should be living your life and allowing life to react to you. When we look at Charlotte, one of the most, I believe, influential parts of the story that, of course, I love is at that breaking point where she said to herself, "Help me. My life is falling apart." And she began to hear those those inner vibrations and that inner knowing that said, if I fail to go within, I must learn to live without. If there's anybody listening to me right now and you're saying to yourself, my life is falling apart, I want you to know, if you fail to go within, you must learn to live without, which means that the way you get your life back together again is by going within. You go through the mental reset. You understand that your mind is the foundation upon everything that you will encounter in life. Everything is mind. mind. Everything is mind. Your relationships with your children, your relationships with your spouse, your relationships with your parents, your relationship with your siblings. If I met you and I asked you about your mom, your spouse, your children, your siblings, and I asked you about them, your description of them would be on how they think, how they operate, and how they perceive life, right? So when you understand that, you understand everything is mind. And if you are going through a tough time in life and things are falling apart, and listen, sometimes things, as we said before, things are falling apart, sometimes they're falling into place, which means that sometimes in life, things are falling apart to move you to another place, to move you to a different level. So it's not a time to panic. Oftentimes in life, I always say this: everything in life is a lesson. What lesson is the universe teaching me in this situation I'm going through? What lesson am I learning? Everybody needs somebody they can go to and say, "Hey, look, man, I'm having a rough time. Could we talk?" That's why I make these consultations available for you guys to sit down and talk to me and schedule. Why? Because sometimes you need to just, maybe sometimes you need to vent. Sometimes people just want to vent to me and tell me how they feel, what's going on. And they may come to me and say, "I know you think I'm crazy." No, I don't think you're crazy, but everybody needs to vent. Everybody needs somebody they can talk to. Everybody needs somebody that they can vent, but at the same time, you also need somebody that's going to be like, okay, after you finish venting, after you finish letting out all your frustrations, let's figure out the plan. Let's figure out how can we evolve and realign ourselves to get out of this situation. Einstein says, whenever there's a problem, you can never deal with the problem on the same level that you received it. So you have to elevate to a higher level. Same thing, ladies and gentlemen. When life is falling apart, You cannot try to deal with life on the same level that it's falling apart at. You must elevate yourself to a higher level. You must elevate yourself in consciousness to a higher level. I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, anything that's happening to you in your life, although I understand and maybe you may think it's that thing, it always reverts back to you. It always reverts back to you. What does that mean? That means that whenever I'm dealing with life issues, instead of me pointing the finger at my wife, pointing the finger at my husband, pointing the finger at my children, my mother, my siblings, my job, pointing the fingers at my bank account, pointing my fingers at the president, pointing my fingers at the government, what I'm going to do is realize that in order for me to make the change, I must go within. I must go within to change what's happening in my life, to realign myself and get myself back on track on a spiritual, emotional, mental level first. And when I do that, then I'm able to see things begin to change on the physical ramifications. But I got to get my life back together again because I got to get me back together. If Charlotte never would have went through the things she's went through to get her mind back together, she would still be going through the same thing. Refrigerator half empty, children talking about the lights are off again. She got the severance pay. She lost her job. Donald was sitting there texting other women or doing what he's doing. She would have been going through all that, but she had to get herself back together again. Diamonds are formed through pressure. And so sometimes life, I've always said this, you never know how strong your tea bag is until it's put in hot water. You never know what's inside of you until life squeezes you and what's inside of you comes out. And you realize, wow, I didn't know. Some of you listening to me right now can go back 20, 30 years from now and say, you know what, you're right. There's situations I went through 30 years ago. I don't even know how we survived. I don't even know how I made it this far. I don't know how we made it through this, how I made it through that, but I'm here now. Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. Ladies and gentlemen, life can fall apart and you can get yourself back together. Those of you who are listening to me right now and you're saying to yourself, man, I'm going through a rough patch right now, you have the ability to realign your life, to change your life. You have the ability to change your circumstances right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not Tuesday, right now. You can change the trajectory of your life. Guess what? By changing your mind. Hit the reset button. Do the mental reset. Get yourself in alignment. I want to be in alignment with what my goals are. I want to be in alignment with what I need to do. Once you get you together, where you don't have any fear, you're not worrying, you're releasing yourself from all doubts, from all fears, and you are now looking at yourself and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to rewrite my story. Whatever's going on right now, I'm going to rewrite my story, and I'm going to begin to live the story that I'm writing. I'm going to be the producer, the author, the director, and the actor of my life. And I'm going to rewrite my life. Ladies and gentlemen, the only person that can stop you from putting your life back together is you. You are the only person that can stop you. Nobody else can stop you but you. And once you realize that, and you begin to lock in, and you begin to really start putting yourself in that position, you'll see that, yes, life will begin to echo. Life will begin to give you the seeds that you have planted. Charlotte, after she had gone through this and realigned her life and realigned her mindset, things begin to happen. Now, one of the things that I loved is that once she began to align herself, she put herself in a position to where money began to flow. But guess what? Put herself in a position to utilize her gifts and her talents, but also to solve problems. She began doing the resume consultations. She began to do the spiritual coaching. And remember the post that she stuck all over the bathroom window? Wealth flows to me. Your realignment, your hitting that reset button is going to be the golden bridge for you getting your life back together again. Putting yourself in a position to be the best version of yourself. She began to do all of this. And what happens is, as she's doing this, she's doing everything on an inward mental level, but then the shift starts to take place physically. Why? Because we're walking mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. What happens on the inside of me is a reflection of what happens on the outside of me. Sometimes in life we can just get so complacent. We can just get so comfortable that we just are in that comfortable zone where we're no longer living, we're just existing. Who knows? The universe could have put Charlotte through this situation to shake her up, to disrupt her, to say, "Hey, listen, we need to disrupt you to move you into your destiny, to move you into your purpose because you're so comfortable. You've been on this job for so long. You and Donald have been doing what you've been doing. The kids have been doing what they're doing. And so we need to disrupt you. We need to move you into a next level, the higher heights. And in order to do that, sometimes, as I said before, the way up is down. Rock bottom has made more millionaires than anything. So we find ourselves in this place, in this position. And what happens is Charlotte begins to realign herself. She begins to make the motion. And what happens is life begins to change for her. The fridge is full now. She's singing again. She's teaching again. She's trusting again. She's realizing who she is. She's realizing that she has control over her life. She's realizing that if things don't go the way they're supposed to go, or if things fall apart, or if things happen, she knows how to put things back together again. In the story, it says, and every now and then when life gets heavy, Charlotte returns to that Tuesday night, to the whisper in the bathroom. If I fail to go within, I must learn to live without. Let that be your mantra, ladies and gentlemen. If I fail to go within, I must learn to live without. Why? Because everything that I need in this life is within me. Everything I need in this life is within me. If I can learn to go within, I will never be without, because everything I need, I will be able to manifest. As within, so without. This is a very interesting story. Um, One of the things that I loved about the story, um, reading the story to you guys, I really would have wanted her and Donald to get back together. And so the relationship thing was the thing that really jumped out to me. And I know we talked about relationships last week, and I want to say that's why I made that declaration and that determination that when you are in a relationship with somebody and you begin to elevate and you begin to ascend and you begin to rise to another level, if that person does not make an adjustment and adapt to you, there's going to be some friction there, because that person is going to feel like, oh, you think you're better than me. Oh, you think that you are, doing, and there's nothing that you have done physically to change. You have changed within. And you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, when you shift that level of consciousness, it's a powerful thing. I've seen people who have begin to do the work within and begin to shift their consciousness, and they'll go on the job and people will be like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with her. She came back from the vacation and she thinks she's better than everybody. You didn't do nothing. You talk to everybody like you normally talk. You hang out in the lunchroom like you normally do. Everything happens like it normally does. But just because you made that little change within yourself, they can feel it. Why? Because, as I said before, ladies and gentlemen, we are walking mirrors. As within, so without. Once you make that change within you, life will respond. And so if you are listening to me and your life is falling apart, and you know somebody whose life is falling apart, you need to give them this teaching for today and have them listen to it. But if your life is falling apart, listen to me. If you fail to go within, you must learn to live without. You would be amazed. Some of you are saying, yeah, this story sounds good and it was a good story, but man, if I could tell you the stuff that I'm going through right now, yes, let's get on the phone and talk about it. Schedule a consultation. They're only $50. And I had a birthday special and I kept it at that. It used to be $250. So I'm letting you guys know, jump on it now. We're in the mid-year, the middle of the year. What does the next 6 months look like for you? What does the next 6 months look like for you? Let's begin to align. Let's begin to reset. Let's begin to rejuvenate, restore. This is a good time for us to do that as we get ready to head into the next 6 months of the year, to get things going, to get things moving, to get things where we need it to be. And so I'm excited about it. I'm excited about your life. And I want you to know that the only person that can change your life is you. The only person that can save you is yourself. There's nobody that's going to save you, ladies and gentlemen. You either the victim or a volunteer. And if you are an adult, 21 and over, you have now entered into what we call the volunteer syndrome, which means that you're volunteering. But there's nobody that's going to save you but you. You are the only person that can save yourself. Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. Are you a giver or are you a taker? Get yourself in position to win. I always look at life as a game. And I always believe that no matter what hand you were dealt in life, you play that hand to win. You play that hand to win. You play that hand to win. Winners will always win. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Winners will always win. Why? Because being a winner is a mindset. Winners will always win. Why? Because my mind is a winner's mind, and all I do is win. And so, with that being said, my mind begins to give me ideas and concepts and strategies to begin to put myself in a position to win, because winners will always win. And I want everybody to know, listening here, you are a winner in the game of life. And so I just wanted to drop that off to you today. I want to thank all of you for listening in. Thank you so much for your contributions. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so, and please subscribe to our channel so that you can be updated on all the new things that we have going on, and every time we have a teaching scheduled, so that you don't miss it. I also want to thank all of you for your donations. If you want to donate to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, please, by all means, we would love to receive, and we are forever grateful for your donations and for your seeds that you've sown. There are 4 ways that you can give into this organization, into this ministry. The first way is going to be Cash App, which is going to be $TOESC. Once again, that's going to be $TOESC. The next ones are going to be are going to be PayPal and also Zelle. Those are the other 2 ways that you can give, and our Zelle and our Cash App are going to be connected to our email, which is going to be info, INFO, at TOESC.org. Once again, that's going to be info at TOESC.org. And you can go ahead and donate and sow your seed by Zelle or PayPal. And then we also have Venmo. Those of you that want to use Venmo, and Venmo is going to be used by our email, which is Issachar Bey at gmail.com. That's ISSACHARBEY at gmail.com. Once again, that's going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com for those of you that want to use Venmo. We are forever grateful. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this great teaching for today. And I hope that you get something out of this. I hope that you realize when we walk away from this today, that you realize, if I fail to go within, I must learn to live without. I want you to know that destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.